Milwaukee Bucks trade talks are escalating as a new report has dropped revealing a new Bucks trade target. And who this is very interesting. We're going to break that down in this episode as well as discuss a massive Khris Middleton update. His return is imminent. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, a quick reminder, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, we're about to hit 1,500 subscribers. It's been a goal of ours for a while. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the daily Bucks content. As the Bucks continue to dominate, they've won 7 of their last 8. They're playing unbelievable basketball right now. And they're nestled in the middle of the Eastern Conference in the 6th seed. So there's a lot to talk about. And obviously we know the Bucks have been actively involved in trying to upgrade their team now, whether that's Bobby Portis, whether that's trading away Pat Connaughton, whoever it is. And I saw your comments on my hate towards Pat Connaughton yesterday. He had one of the better games of the season. Still don't think he had a good game, but I'll digress for now. So a new report has dropped that the Bulls are targeting Torrey Craig to pair with Giannis and Lillard. And that's a hilarious headline to begin with. I mean, Torrey Craig in the same breath as Giannis and Damian Lillard is pretty funny, but we'll dive into the report here. So the Milwaukee Bucks appear to be targeting for Torrey Craig on the trade market. Brett Siegel of Clutch Sports reported that the Bucks have, quote, shown interest, end quote, in Craig as a piece to add to the team's wing, and that Milwaukee is looking to move Marjon Beauchamp and Pat Connaughton to get a deal done. And the exact quote is, no team has shown interest in making a deal with the Milwaukee Bucks at this time. Beauchamp and Pat Connaughton are the two players the Bucks have made available in trade discussions in order to try and add talent to the wing. Veteran forward Torrey Craig from Chicago Bulls is a player Milwaukee has shown interest in. Rival teams would much rather discuss Bobby Portis if he was to become available before the trade deadline. And we covered some parts of this report a while ago, or a different report, kind of echoing the same thing as Brett Siegel here in his most recent report, essentially saying that, hey, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you're probably going to have to trade Bobby Portis, which I'm all for at this point. Again, I guess I'm a noted Bobby Portis hater to some people, but I don't think he's playing very well. And it's interesting. It seems like the Bucks want to keep Bobby Portis at this time. And again, Pat Connaughton's making 9.4. You think about Bobby Portis, he's making a lot of money as well, over 10. So the actual report here is that they're actively targeting Torrey Craig. And again, he at one point was a very solid player. We've seen him play with a bunch of different teams, but this season he's only averaging 5 and 2, and he's been playing. He's obviously played with Chicago. You saw in the intro video there. He's also played with the Phoenix Suns, most notably the Phoenix Suns. One of his, of course, better seasons was with the Suns. He's a 7-year veteran who played with 5 franchises, including Milwaukee, where he was on the 2020 championship team. So it is a familiar face, but at this point of his career and at this point of the season, he hasn't played very good. His cap hit is $2.8 million. He would be a low-risk pickup who could help the Bucks navigate a weak Eastern Conference. And when you're looking at players, realistic options, if they're trying to move off of Beauchamp and you are of course, the Chicago Bulls, you could do a framework surrounding a Beauchamp or Torrey Craig swap, and it would make some sense because, again, Beauchamp is young, Torrey Craig is older. The Bulls need to be in a rebuild, a retool, whatever you want to call it. It should be a teardown at this point. But Torrey Craig is a veteran guy. He's not going to be a part of the team going forward. Marjon Beauchamp, you give him a chance with the Bulls, he'll get some elevated minutes. Again, a former first-round pick just a couple of years ago in 2022. So it's like everything could work out. A former 2022 first-round pick in exchange for a guy in Torrey Craig who is pretty bad right now, especially this season. 5 points, 2 rebounds. But he's shown the ability to do some decent things. And we've spoken this channel about guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, like you mentioned here. And the question mark is, would you rather a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith that you see here or Torrey Craig? The answer is obviously Dorian Finney-Smith. However, when you're looking at the actual price, Dorian's going to cost you, it might be a first, it might be some more valuable pieces. Whereas Torrey Craig, you could probably just get for Marjon Beauchamp and maybe a second-round pick, but I wouldn't even do that. Beauchamp's salary is $2.7 million. Torrey Craig is $2.8. You could just do a one-for-one swap here. It is a very intriguing, like the article says, low-risk option. And as the Bucks slowly start to look more and more like contenders and more like the team that we thought they were going to be heading into this season, they're now at 500. They're now playing way better. And the bench is starting to play a lot better as well. And that's the one question. If you bring in a guy like Torrey Craig, would you want to take away minutes from guys like A.J. Green and Andre Jackson Jr., two young guys who, both of them, of which have played very well in their limited roles? We saw Ajax have a nice Euro step on a fast break yesterday. We saw him play great defense. We saw A.J. Green hit a couple clutch threes, especially late in the fourth quarter there, and one of them got waved off. So as the team starts to figure out their identity more, especially towards the trade deadline and as it approaches, Torrey Craig, not an exciting move at all, but if you're trying to move off of Marjon Beauchamp, it could make a little bit of sense there. And again, you look at Pat Connaughton, he's making 9.4. Maybe you swing a deal surrounding Pat Connaughton and some picks if you were of the mindset of preferring a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, who I would still have number 1 on my trade leader, or not number 1, but very high up there if you're looking for a 3-and-D wing. He can help a team win, especially now that the team is starting to look better. Dame is starting to play better. Dame is also starting to play better alongside Giannis. So if they can continue to play well together, you add Dorian Finney-Smith into that, I mean, you're adding a very valuable piece into this team. So let me know what your thoughts are on these trade reports. Again, as the deadline approaches, things are going to start to heat up, and hopefully the Bucks can make a big splash. But let's dive into Khris Middleton now a little bit. So Khris Middleton has been medically cleared to return to action per the Bucks team doctors. It dropped yesterday before the game against, of course, in the game which they won, But via Shams, the three-time All-Star, completed his first 5-on-5 scrimmage today in Miami and is expected to return sometime after Thanksgiving. Which means, and all signs are pointing to now, a next week target. So a next week return. He's finally completed 5-on-5s. He completed that a couple days ago, and he's hopeful he's making his debut after, of course, American Thanksgiving there. And you look at the stats, or not the stats, the schedule. This is their schedule for the next month, not including the NBA Cup games to be added. Real opportunity to take off one game at a time. You look at the game Saturday. You play Washington. You play Detroit. You play Atlanta. Those should be 3 wins. And if you're targeting a return, maybe he plays Saturday. In all likelihood, he'll play he'll play Tuesday against the Pistons or Wednesday against the Bucks on a back-to-back there in December. I think either one of those returns would be very interesting again, I wouldn't mind targeting a return for Khris Middleton against one of the weaker teams like Washington or Detroit or even Atlanta, who's been playing very bad. So the fact that he's finally been cleared for 5-on-5 scrimmage is a very encouraging sign. It's been months now in the making. I remember way back before the season started, we thought that he was going to be ready for opening night, or there was a chance, and then he missed the last preseason game, missed the last few preseason games, I think 3 or 2. And ultimately, after missing those 2 or 3 games, he's been dealing with the injury the whole time. Finally, for the first time all season, he's been cleared for 5-on-5 work, and it comes at a very good time because the Milwaukee Bucks, they could use his return, of course, but they've been rolling now without him. They're back to 500. They're playing very good basketball, and if you can add a guy who can score 15 points, create on the ball, and help alleviate some of the pressure off of Dame and Giannis, then the team is going to look even better than it has been over the past week or two. And it's a very good time. They didn't rush him. Clearly, they want to wait till he's 100% healthy before coming back, and they're doing that now. And now as we target a December return, probably Tuesday would be my guess, or Wednesday against Atlanta. Either one would be perfect. But even the rest of the schedule is not too rough. Obviously, Celtics are going to be a really tough game on Friday. The Brooklyn Nets should be a pretty easy game. Then, of course, you have some interesting things there. You play Cleveland, you play Washington towards the end of December there. Of course, not including the NBA Cup games, which will be added, the big gap between the 8th and the 20th. But at the end of the day, you play Chicago, you play Chicago again, you play the Brooklyn Nets, you play the Indiana Pacers, who are having a horrible year. You should be able to win 70% of these games. If you get Khris Middleton back and you can tune yourself up through these easier matchups, easier in air quotes, because everything is, of course, every team is trying to win games, whether or not they're playing well. It'll be very interesting. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on that, as well as, of course, the Torrey Craig trade report. It's interesting. Things are picking up, and I think as the trade deadline approaches and as the Bucks continue to play really good basketball, these talks are going to heat up, especially as December 10th and December approaches. So thank you guys for watching. See you later.